talking a little bit about Tyler Johnson the other night, and he was part of that 2012 Norfolk team you were coaching. I'm curious, how many parallels do you see between this group and that group, and how have you as a coach evolved since that team?
Well, definitely similarities in the teams. I think you have to have an ability to win games that are semi-high scoring, and you have to be able to win games 1-0. Both teams had goaltending. Both teams had big, strong D, and both teams had dynamic forwards. But I guess probably the biggest similarity was they were extremely mentally tough, and not much. You could go into games at the start of a game. I feel like you had the lead already, and I think both teams are pretty confident groups. As for me, I much more experienced, seasoned, better coach than I was then. I think when you're building teams and coaching teams, you stick to your core values. Those have not changed for me. What I believe in and what I will keep to me. But just learning the dynamics of other coaches, other teams. Like when you're in the NHL, it's the best of the best here, and you're just hoping to keep up. And so I've learned a ton from other coaches, watching other coaches, and then from the game. And the longer you're around and you see tendencies in the game and things that you think you can improve upon, like it just takes time. And I guess that's why it's called experience.
We'll go to Ken Campbell.
Hi, John. I wanted to ask about your third line. Three guys who were pretty unheralded guys. I mean, Yanni Gourde wasn't drafted in the NHL or the Quebec League. Just wondering, like, how much you think that fuels those guys, and what in your mind has made them so effective together as a unit.
Well, I don't know if maybe individually that affects Gordo. You'd have to ask him that, but I think, and I talked about this a few games ago, but they don't care who they're playing against, what the score is, whether they bring a gun to a knife fight. Those guys, like they're ready, and they don't back down. They're a pain in the ass. They just they're nonstop, and like a lot of times in games, you'll have a line. Well, there's a lot of energy in the first, and decent energy in the second, and the game goes on. And the way they play, it sucks a lot out of you. It doesn't seem to affect those guys. They're as effective in the first shift as they are the last, and it can be hard to play against. And so, it took us a few games to kind of figure out this chemistry between the three of them, but it's there, and just a luxury to have on your bench.
Go to Joe Smith.
John, you said the other day that kind of the transformation of this team coincided with the transformation of Nikita Kucherov in the last couple of years, and I think you pointed to that Columbus series, that sweep, as one of the times where it kind of switched. Do you remember a certain moment in that season, right next season after that, where you kind of saw the difference in him, or saw that maturity, or saw, when did it kind of strike you, I guess, that you maybe had seen him kind of, move along in that process to where, now we see him today?
I don't know if you can sit here and say it's like a match striking moment. It takes time. There's no, the switch getting flipped. It's gradual. And can you sit there and say what happened to us in 2019 and, what happened to him specifically? That probably opened his eyes a little bit. But still, it was, even the next year, it was still it was a progression. And we were kind of changing our mindset on how to play the game. And, to be honest, I think we were getting a little bit of flack, before Sweden, because our record wasn't what everybody expected it to be. But inside the room, we knew we were playing pretty well. We weren't getting the results we wanted, but Cooch was coming along too. And at times, like, you may not get as many points or whatever it is that you're used to. It may be scaled back a little bit, but your trophy case is going to get bigger. And it takes time for gifted, skilled players to at times learn that. And there's a reason they're special. And I think the special ones can adapt. And that's what Cooch has done. It took him, some time in the league. But boys, he turned into a remarkable player. That's all Cooch.
Go to Tom Galletti.
John, I'll bite the bullet on the Alex Killorn question today. He didn't skate. Is there any possibility he could be out there for you tomorrow?
How does that work? Do you guys like rock, paper, scissors?
No one else to ask, so I figured I'd try.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. So it was optional today, so a few guys didn't skate. But I'll be sure to answer tomorrow morning.
We'll go to Eric Erlinson.
Hey, John, you had relayed a story a couple days ago to us about what you had said to Blake Coleman after Game 6 against the Islanders. What goes into developing relationships with your players in that manner to where they believe you, right? Like, they don't look at it as just lip service and they understand how much you care about them as players.
I don't know. That's probably a tough one for me to answer. You probably have to ask the players that one. There's a delicate balance. I mean, you can't sit there and be their buddy, but you have to show them you care. Sometimes, I care about my kids, but sometimes I have to discipline them. And but to me, it's a huge thing is about respect. And I never played a game in the NHL. And so what these guys have all done, they've done something I haven't. None of these guys have coached in the NHL. And so I think one thing is you got to hope that they respect what you're doing. And I certainly I respect what they're doing. And you communicate, but part of it too is a culture you build here over time. And I think that helps. You've got some rules, you got some things that the way things are done, and guys fall in the line. And but in the end, like, it's not about the coach, it's about the player. And you got to show some empathy for things that they're not trying to screw up. And when they do, you've got to guide them through it, because the game is as much mental as it is physical. And when guys are feeling good about themselves, their play is, improves. And so it's a balance there, and you just try and walk that line.
Take a couple more for the coach, Kevin McGran.
Coop, I know you've been asked this before, but I'll ask it again. What would winning a second cup mean to you, to your players, and to the organization?
Like I said, it's now it becomes like a legacy thing. You talked about some of the great teams in the decade span, and you'd hope that the Tampa Bay Lightning would be mentioned in that. And you sit back and say, man, like, look what Chicago did. They won 3-6, and look what LA did, and look what Pittsburgh did. And you think back, like multiple cups. It gives you, I don't know, it's good street cred for the guys. It's for the organization, and it shows what our ownership and management and everybody on the way down, like the hard work they do, and their values are paying off. And ultimately, this second one, again, it's there's a long way to go, but we didn't have a really ability to share it with a fan base that's been pretty damn loyal to us, who we care a ton for, and they care for our team. And if it's chips fall our way and we can win, it'd be great to celebrate them with the way they deserved, as opposed to some of the restrictions we had last year.
And our last question will be Marc-Antoine Godin.
Hi, John. If you see any, what would be the risk? How would you describe the risk of letting sneak in this idea of, the worst that can happen is that we'll win this thing at home?
No, that will never sneak into our locker room. We dealt with that. We dealt with that last year, and in a different way. There's a mindset that has developed with our players, and we had a chance to knock out the Islanders last year and didn't do it. We had a chance to knock out Dallas last year and didn't do it, and it's a learning process to go through that. By no means does that guarantee any results of what's going to happen in tomorrow's game, but I know our mindset's different going into these games, on these closeout games, as they have in the past, and so regardless of it's about winning. It's not about where you win, and that's all we care about.